Fletcher. Now let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Unless someone would like to consider an item separately, I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Second?
Yep, second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes. Abstaining on one. I wasn't here.
Thank you. Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next, we have 2 items on the agenda for public hearing. The first one is public hearing on the adoption of the 2018 Special Improvement District budget. I ask if anyone has any comment to please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Our second item is any other matter that members of the public wish to address to the council. Please approach the microphone. Certainly.
Margaret Brady, 1 Franklin Place. First, I'd like to thank the town of Morristown for all your kindnesses during my husband's recent death, and especially with the Sergeant Hagelin, or maybe I promoted him, I'm not sure, but he deserves to be. He was one of the police who was first at the house when we had to call him, and the EMT people, and just everyone. If you're going to have a serious problem or a death, I can't think of any place that you could better be than the town of Morristown and the Franklin Corners neighborhood. So, and with that, I'm going to go on. One of the things I had more time to do was review your ordinances tonight. And I noticed that you have a lot of park improvements in your budget. The only improvements that aren't planned are at Morristown's smallest park with the least to offer in the most densely populated area of Morristown, the Ford Avenue Park in Franklin Corners. Now, that led me to reviewing some of your recent acquisitions, which I wholeheartedly support, but I've noticed that the Loyola State property and the recent acquisition on Hillcrest Avenue are both on Morris Township borderlines, and I saw no support from the township towards adding park space that would benefit their residents as much as Morristown residents. And since they've been raising some of those issues lately about cooperation, this might be a nice way they could show their cooperation to pitch in and help with those projects. And that's about it. I also noticed in the budget you have one clerk whose salary is only $9 an hour, and I think the minimum wage should be $10 an hour. I think it's a bilingual clerk, and it might be nice to raise that one salary up by $1. So, thank you.
Thank you, Marge.
Is there anybody else in the public?
You sure?
Vowed I wasn't going to speak. Carol Linskog, Cutler Street, Morristown. I'm addressing the master plan that you all will be dealing with, and the planning board will be dealing with also. I'm concerned about the intensity change on the Speedwell Avenue corridor. It's 1.5 miles from my home to work here, which takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes each morning. Although this morning I did make it in 11 and a half minutes. But the norm is that. It's an average of about 4.35 miles per hour. It will be worse for sure with the amount of traffic. And I know a lot of it is the corridors. You've got the Washington Street corridor, the Sussex Avenue corridor, the 202 corridor, which are people mostly from, of course, out of town getting to the intersection of the highways here. Excuse me. But I really do not feel that there is a need to change the intensity in the area as it is right now. I know it had been higher and it had been lowered quite a few years ago now, but I do not feel there's a need to actually increase it from the RT1. Again, traffic is the biggest problem, and with that, of course, is parking. We all know, I think many of our areas know now, where you are nearby an intense development area, the residential streets do take a brunt of traffic and of parking, which if we have 3, 4, 5 family houses along the way, and they back up to, or will back up to Pocahontas Lake, we know there's no parking in the back unless they've got pontoons or something on. But that's my concern. Thank you.
Can I have your address again for the record? I apologize.
42 Cutler. It's actually 38 Cutler on the tax records, but it's 42 mailing.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public? One second.
Gary Thomas, 16 Conklin. As a previous woman just spoke, I want to make a comment about the zoning changes, specifically the MX1 zone on Colonial, which, as I understand it, the goal of these zoning changes is to preserve the quality of the residential neighborhoods. So I don't really see the sense of preserving our residential neighborhood, but then right on our doorstep, intensifying the use to 3 to 5 family houses. That doesn't make sense to me. Also, as she said, we have 2 problems in town, which are apparent, are traffic and parking. And both of those things are made worse by greater intensity, right? So I don't see how this fits in with the stated goals in fixing the problems of the town. It would seem to me that the 3 to 5, if you don't want to rule it out entirely, they should just go through the variance process, because each one would be individual. And I'm not sure what a 3 to 5 conversion from a 1 to 2 family house would look like. So would that look like a giant Victorian house? Would it be like row townhouses? So I think they're so individual that they should be dealt with in the variance process than just add it in and be allowed to happen. That's it.
Thank you. Oh, you're next. You go ahead. No, well, after.
Hi, my name is Bill Byrne, and I live at 100 Franklin Street. And I'm here to talk about the traffic lights, because when I was crossing after mailing my thing, I was getting ready to cross over, and those lights don't give you enough time to cross. I mean, it's ridiculous. And, you know, you're trying not to jaywalk yourself and, you know, and trying to cross the right way. I mean, they don't give you enough time to cross. I mean, it's like ridiculous, because then when the light says, you know, puts the hand up and starts blinking, and from what I understand, you're not allowed to cross on a blinking light. But sometimes you don't have a choice because you're in the middle of the intersection already. So you don't want to be going back to the other side. But I just feel that all the traffic lights in Morristown, they gotta make them a little longer so the pedestrian can walk. And then, as you know, yeah, we still have a problem with jaywalkers. You know, so I just want to bring that up too. Thank you.
Thanks, Billy.
Hello, my name is Meredith Davidson. I live at 10 Colonial Road. I was here at one of the last meetings, and I want to express my appreciation for some of the changes that were made to the zoning plan. I'm here to speak about that again. Met with some neighborhood folks, and we were all expressing concerns as Gary spoke about density. I just wanted to go on the record saying that I would be personally okay with density if it was restricted to new builds. So that's my 2 cents.
I'm sorry.
If it was restricted to new construction. So again, thank you for all your work on this.
Thanks, Meredith.
Any other members of the public wishing to be heard this evening? Okay, with that, I will close the public session.
Do the council members have any response to the public hearing comments?
I think regarding the questions on the zoning, I think we'll just hold off on that until we talk about it in the regular business.
Anyone else?
And on park improvements, we'll talk. I mean, I think we're putting a lot towards the parks in town appropriately. But the idea of another park somewhere around a highly dense area in Franklin Corners is a good idea to pursue. And it's something we should pursue.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so we're going to turn it over to the mayor for proclamations and presentations.
Okay.
I do have a couple of comments. I'll save my zoning comments for when the planner gets up, because I think there's some misconceptions and some thought process of why some of the things were put in there as a result of many months and years on the master plan and how those results came about. And I don't want the misconception of the public thinking that that we're looking to let cars park up and down Speedwell Avenue. The form-based coding is you have to actually show proof to the planning board that you can actually park on site. You can't park in the street. Those things all change, and those are the little things that people miss in this whole code thing. And the second thing is, I want to say about that, and then I'll wait for Phil's presentation, is back in the 70s, Maple Avenue and Wetmore Avenue were in dire straits. And they changed the zoning, increased it a little bit to do 1 to 4 families, and they increased Maple Avenue to the ORC zone. If you walk down Wetmore Avenue in those areas over there, you'll see a transformation that's taken place over the last 35 years to where people took their Victorians, turned them into 4 families. Some of them have now turned back to 1 single families. So there is a process where there is an idea that people can reinvest into their properties, and to get that, you have some increased density, whether it's from a 1 family or 2 family or 2 family or 3 family, maybe 5's too many. But there is serious results, and the historic district in the Second Ward, 4-2, is clear results of what a town did to allow more density to save those homes. And when you walk, as I do, up and down Speedwell Avenue, especially on the, I'll say, the eastbound side, there are a lot of properties that are in dire need of tender loving care and investment. And when you're strapped for money and you pay a lot for the homes, you sometimes can benefit from having an extra apartment, or if you have those properties are deep and they're pretty big, and they would have to meet a lot of criteria to even go from a 2 to a 3. But no one's looking to intensify or to make Speedwell Avenue a mass development. We're talking of increase of small amounts to reinvest into homes that could turn around and then enhance the neighborhood, that road that they're on. So I think that the planner has done a yeoman's job on this and has worked very closely with Councilman Armington on getting things out. But I want people to understand that by taking everything out, those properties are not going to improve. And these are mechanisms to people to reinvest in their properties, just as they did in the ORC zone on Maple Avenue and as they did on Wetmore Avenue over the years. And if you really look at what they were able to do, they were able to save neighborhoods. And I've watched 2 and 3 families go back to 1 families over the years, and because I own a multifamily, a 3-family in the historic district on Wetmore. And at one time was a single family home that was turned into a 3-family, but it saved the home. So there is some criteria and there is some thought pattern into what the planners did with the master plan and what they did with this form-based coding. And I think it's important that everybody understands that this isn't about intensifying development. This is actually about controlling how you develop, and that the property size fits the area that a development is. In case when someone goes from a 1 to a 3-family, that they can't just go to a 1 to 3 family. They can go to the zoning board, which is appropriate, the way it normally works. But in this type of form-based coding, you have to meet so much criteria. You can't park on the street. You have to show you can park on your property. That has to be designed a certain way. That has to meet certain criteria, or they have to show that proof in front of the planning board, or it doesn't move forward. So I just want everybody to be on record, even though it's been changed. I personally don't think it's the right change. I think you can make it less, but I don't think to completely move it was the right change, but it's at the council's purview on how they want to do with that. But I wanted to be on record that I think that when you look at history on how you can turn properties around and enhance properties and invest in properties, there's a way to do it, and it's been done in Morristown before. I think that was the goal. I think it wasn't the goal to intensify an area that's creeping into any neighborhood, because obviously we know Speedwell's a state road and it's mostly geared on the eastbound side. But those properties are large, and we want to see people reinvest in their properties in Morristown. And I think that was just a mechanism, and we'll support anything the council wants to do, which is obviously take it out. But I think that I needed to say that for the record, and that's that. Okay, and the park, I agree with you. And Marge, I will make a comment on Marge's comment. If we wait for the township to try to work out something to give us some money towards purchasing, we're never going to be able to buy 11 acres for $250,000. And if we delayed, I guarantee you developers were just chomping at the bit to get those 11 acres to put 80 townhomes on that property. So I get your point, but they're not there yet to where we can negotiate. They're close. They're close. I think after November, we're going to have a better working relationship. But right now, I agree with you. They do benefit from the open space that we've been able to acquire, and I agree with you 100%. But I don't think that it would work out, and the delay could be dangerous into the fact that Loyola needs X amount of money. And developer starts talking about millions of dollars for development, they can only wait so long. And I think the delay would have been dangerous. But I agree with your position that they benefit from what we're doing, and that hopefully as we continue to go, as we talked about in the last meeting they had at the township, that we start working together on more issues. And it's not just property. We need to work together on issues that affect many different things in our both communities, and hopefully very soon those conversations will take place more and more. So thank you for your comments. Appreciate it, and God bless you, and we're all so sorry about Wendell. All right, quickly. And I know the Councilwoman Deeb is involved in this, is important to her ward. The volunteer at Burnham Park. Come join Dr. Chris Abrapta and Water Resources, the Mayor's Environmental Commission, the Whippany River Watershed Action Committee, which the Councilwoman is very involved in and knows everything they do, and others at Burnham Park. This is for volunteers on Thursday, June 28th, to help remove invasive species from the riparian buffer in the park. You plan to meet the team and other volunteers between 9 and 10 a.m. Please dress appropriately, bring gloves, tools, and plenty of water. Also, there's poison ivy throughout. And I know Al Chifo won't be going over there. That's an inside joke, he's got poison ivy. And the riparian buffer, so please plan accordingly. So again, that's Thursday, June 28th, for all those who, Kevin, if you could get out there, those who have time to volunteer at 9 in the morning, arrive at Burnham Park, intersection of Washington Street and Burnham Parkway. If you're looking for more information, you can log on to our Facebook or visit the town website and updates. You can update, go on the Whippany River Watershed Action Committee website also. I think that's it, right? So we're looking really forward to that. Dave, on behalf of the administration, the DPW, Burnham Park Association, has worked very closely together, and they've done a lot of work over at Burnham Park already, and I know the township residents are happy, and you know, we're doing a lot of stuff over in that park. Okay, get that, Kevin? Probably not. I'll have to give it to you. All right, this is about the new bus. We're getting a new bus. We've been talking about this for a little while. We're getting a new bus. And this is name Morristown's new bus. So we are retiring the beloved Colonial Coach, and soon there will be a brand new bus in Morristown. Can you help us name it? We're offering great prizes for 3 most popular names submitted by residents. So this is how to enter. I'm going to give you a copy of the flyer now being distributed. We will get this to it'll be on our website, Facebook, and hopefully Morristown Green will put a big thing on there. How to submit, how to enter and how to submit. So we look forward to, we think this can be a fun exercise to see who names our bus. I mean, I remember when the New Jersey Devils had the big thing on the name and the team when they came here, and how the name New Jersey Devils, who I work for, came up with. And this is on a smaller scale, obviously, but but just as important, because there's a lot of different names out there for the new bus. But we're really excited. I know a lot of people in town utilize the bus, and we hope with the new bus, a lot more people will utilize our Colonial Coach and save on our carbon emissions and all the things that go along with having some little mass transit in our downtown. And if more people ride it and more people get involved, we can actually then looking at increasing the routes, increasing the times. So please, when this all comes about, when will we get the new bus? The fall. Okay, so the winner of Town Council will announce the new bus name at the August 7th council meeting, guys. So put your name. I want you guys to put your names in too. You guys got to come up with a name too. Don't be calling it the Silver Express either. Not the Silver Express.
On the Hillary Mobile.
The Hillary Mobile. All right. All right. Mark your calendars. We all know what's coming. July 4th on the Green, 11:30. March from Ford Mansion to the Morristown Green at 11:30. We're going to have some songs. There's going to be a 12 noon reading of the Declaration of Independence. Mr. Iannacone is going to read it from heart. He's got, no? Not having it? All right. I am in a good mood tonight. So 1 p.m., Presbyterian Church. They have a graveyard tour, which is really incredible. There are some really old graves in Morristown, really old graves. And then there's other activities. At the Morristown National Historic Park is open all day. We hope, right? No, that won't shut down, right? That's a federal. That's not state. We hope the state doesn't shut down. And that's it. Excuse me. So there's more things. This is posted. You have a copy of this? can you give Kevin a copy of that? And, check our website, Facebook, and, okay. Allison, would you like to do this in case you don't know?
Sure.
Do you have this?
So tomorrow night is the opening reception for the Foots Pond Wood exhibit. It's a visual study of the history, ecology, wildlife, and recreational activities, and it's going to be on display in the FM Kirby Gallery. It's the opening reception, so that's tomorrow night, June 27th at 7 p.m., and it's going to be a reception. There's going to be it's a beautiful exhibit. It's kind of like set up like a museum kind of thing, and there's different words that were written on different pieces of Foots Pond, text, descriptions, and it's really, the community really came together with the mayor's help and the environmental commission's help, and it should be a wonderful exhibit. Bill Munther, the ecologist and friend of Foots Pond Wood member, is also going to be hosting nature walks, and that's on Thursday, July 12th at 6:30 p.m. or Saturday, July 21st at 10:30 a.m. So if you want more information, you can go to the library website where they list all their events, www.jfpl.org. So
Thank you. Thank you very much. On the 19th of June, we had ribbon cutting called Free Flow Chiropractic. It's at 114 Maple Avenue. Really cool people. Family has a history of chiropractors in the family. Matter of fact, I talked to the doctor's younger sister. She's actually going to be going to Hawaii to practice a certain type of chiropractic services. So it's a new business, and they look for, if you have some aches and pains and you use chiropractors, give them a try. June 21st, we had a ribbon cutting for Renew Cryotherapy. That is at 89 Morris Avenue, which is really more, it's on Wilmont. I don't know why they put 89 Morris Street. It's Wilmont. If everybody knows where Wilmont is, down by the diner, it's called Renew Cryotherapy. So I'll give you a quick example. You're a skier. You hurt your knee. You know how sometimes you got to keep ice on your knee for a while? I'm talking to Stefan. He's an accomplished skier. The same time you would keep the hour of ice on your knee, you'll get the same results in 5 to 10 minutes doing this Renew Cryotherapy. So it's very interesting.
what is it?
Renew Cryotherapy. It's like they freeze your cryotherapy.
Oh, okay.
So it could be interesting. I think if Jen from the partnership is here, she's in the back. She knows all about it. So she goes once a week. So it's really kind of neat. It's really kind of neat. So hey, if you got aches and pains, you get injured, go give it a try. All right. I want to congratulate all the students from Morristown High School. Mr. Armington's son graduated. It was well attended. It was a great ceremony, and we wish all the graduates continued success on their next chapter of their journey in their lives. We talked about Foots Pond. We talked about Burnham Park. At 10 a.m. on the 28th, Abbott Avenue Homeless Solutions, there's a VIP tour and a ribbon cutting. Those who are around would like to attend. It's 10 a.m. on the 28th at 23 Abbott Avenue, more affordable housing. And Michael, you got something coming up? Meet me in Morristown?
Yep, last Thursday of every month. I don't have the date in front of me, but
28th.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this Thursday.
This Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, this Thursday, meet me in Morristown. I'd also like to thank the PBA for the car show they put on. That was some really cool cars. So hats off to the PBA for bringing that kind of stuff to our downtown. It's a great success.
I have a question. Last year, the Cops and Rodders coincided with every council meeting?
No, it wasn't at the council meeting.
They staggered this year?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, and thanks. And yeah, they didn't do it on purpose. They just worked out that way. But this year they did not, so it was not held on a council meeting. So it was highly successful.
Great.
The 4th, the town hall is closed. We talked about the kicking off at the headquarters, then down to the green. Sunday, July 8th at noon, 3 p.m., Diversity Day at the Green. That's 3 p.m. on July 8th at noon, hosted by the Presbyterian Church. I will not be in attendance, so if somebody from the council would like to go, or a few people from the council and rep the administration, we'd appreciate it. I will be away that week fishing. And other than that, Council President, Acting Council President, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Council liaison reports?
No, we want to turn it. You want to turn it over to Mr. Abrams for his presentation?
What? I get a vacation.
Parking Authority did meet last Tuesday. We actually took it as an opportunity to review the proposed parking requirements and opportunities in the new zoning ordinance. A couple of things. One, they were in agreement, continuing on with the 20-year agreements, with the 10-year with the infill sales. And they actually, again, complimenting administration and the planners, because previously we didn't have these provisions in the ordinances. Now we have these provisions in these ordinances. They're no longer silent. What's also good about the off-site parking is we do have the ongoing obligation, which means that at the end of those terms of those agreements, they get reviewed again and they get negotiated again. And one of the things that probably may not make it into this draft of the ordinance, but I have to applaud the planners and administration. It's actually had a lot of creative ways of how do you create parking. You know, how do you partner to create parking? And there was a lot of, you could see that the attempts that the planners and administration was trying to make with the ordinance, some of those may not make it into this draft, but I think there's a tremendous opportunity to take these ideas and maybe bring them back to the Parking Authority, share them with the Parking Authority, and work and continue to work on this with the planners.
Thank you, Bob.
The Environmental Commission met on Tuesday, June 3rd. And I guess the big item was this exhibit coming up, as well as some cleanups, but also a big shout out to Councilman Armington and the Elliott Street Community Garden Project, because they talked a little bit about that. And I did have the opportunity to visit that park over the weekend, and it really is quite something. So just congratulations for all that work. It's just a really neat park, and the way it fits in with the rest of the Elliott Park is wonderful. So I understand Councilman Armington was successful in getting a grant from ANJEC, and so it would be really wonderful if we could replicate that in other parts of town where the citizens and the residents want it. So that's basically it.
Just to reiterate that it's been a great collaboration between, the residents and the council and the administration and engineering and environmental commission and Grow It Green. So a really great opportunity to take some space in a park that hasn't really been used for a while, and so residents are extremely grateful to everyone for the support.
There used to be a pool there, right?
There used to be a pool about 20 years ago. So
yeah.
So
be a town pool there.
Yeah.
How about that? I'd like to have a pool right in your backyard like that.
That's it?
No, keep going with this.
Are you still doing the calendar for the council? Is that coming up? I didn't see it on the agenda, and I just have one thing to add.
Calendar of events?
Yeah.
That was removed as it's not required under the ordinance, but you can certainly.
Can I just mention the McCulloch Hall is having summer concerts, and the first one is this Sunday at 2 p.m., and the Coots is playing. I think they were at the Green this week. So that's at 2 o'clock on Sunday. There is a fee. It's $10 for adults. And looks like it's July 1st. And then there's also, for more information, you can go to their Facebook page or their website. But there is one this Sunday at 2.
Okay. Okay, under regular business, we have,
Wait,
we're going
Oh,
to do that right before.
Right.
Is it okay? I'm sorry? We have two ordinances for introduction. The first one this evening is ordinance 24-2018, an ordinance of the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, New Jersey, to authorize the purchase of real property located at Block 8901, Lot 3.02. Can I have a motion for introduction?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
And Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Ordinance 24-2018 will be considered further during a public hearing at the July 10th council meeting. Ordinance number O-25-2018 is actually replacing ordinance O-17-2018. 17-2018 was introduced at the last meeting, so I would please ask for a motion to rescind O-17-2018 and introduce O-25-2018.
I'll move it.
I'll second. Rescind and reintroduce.
Yes. Okay, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
And Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Jillian.
Just to Phil.
Just to Phil, I'm sorry.
Be mad at me.
Did we introduce it right there, or did we just rescind it?
We rescinded and introduced.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we're going to turn it over to Phil, our planner.
Oh, you need this,
If you don't mind.
oh, you got me this time. Didn't you have your own projector last time?
No,
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. Give me a moment.
I do have one.
Well, can I clarify on the McCullough call? It's free for members. It's $10 if you're not a member. Just want to clarify that. Probably get shouted out.
Well, it might make some extra money.
That too. Then members don't have to pay. Did you get my questions?
I did.
Okay.
I tried to call you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could talk to you after.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you so much again for your time this evening, and thank you to your wonderful clerk for helping us to reintroduce this. It's not an easy process. This is a very kind of detailed document and piece of legislation, and you've been very patient with us, and I appreciate it very much. And so I'm gonna kind of give an update, but this process is working itself through. It's working itself through the way that it's supposed to. We're getting comments back from council members, and I'm here really to share what those were and what the revisions that we've made. We never thought it was going to be, this is a living document and one that will continue to evolve through comments like this and just through real-world application, real-world experience, for generations to come. So we're going to give a little background, talk about what those revisions were, and then there's been some comments and questions raised. We even heard some of them this evening about intensity, development, traffic, parking, things like that I just wanted to address and provide a little bit of a planning basis for how that entered into our thinking in drafting this code and what the provisions in this code were that I believe speak to those things. Okay, so we had an introduction, an ordinance introduction, first reading. So this presentation really should be seen as an addendum to that one. I'm not going to go over all the same things. I think that I might be asked to leave if I did do all that. So this is really just to talk about the revisions, go over the comments and feedback that we received, and there really was, I was,
impressed with the council members and validated in some way that somebody was actually able to pick it up and read it and understand it enough to give such detailed comments. So that was rewarding in its own way. Talk about those revisions, and then really tonight is to reintroduce that ordinance with these new revisions and comments that have been incorporated. So generally speaking, and kind of categorically, the types of things that we heard were one real mapping suggestion, a redistricting of two properties, which I'll describe, comments regarding specific uses and building height, and then some larger policy inquiries, again, which I'll get into at the end. So some of the things you heard about this evening from members of the public during general comment period was around Speedwell Avenue and this multifamily district that we're trying to refine and optimize and tweak for that area. So previously, the uses, those properties did permit three buildings above 3 families in that area. And we talked a little bit about the history. At one point it was 4 families, and then it was back to 2 families. What we're trying to do is thread the needle and balance all these things we've heard. You know, the mayor's recognition that there is a need for reinvestment in this area, that the master plan recognized that people in this town are hungry for different housing options, that there aren't, you know, in-town living opportunities as much as people would want, walkable living opportunities. And we thought, and the master plan believed, that this was the type of area where those things could be incorporated. The desire to manage growth around the corridors that are capable of handling traffic, not going into residential neighborhoods or you know, even a risk where it could become a cut-through. Or a residential cut-through, that was the whole idea behind that mobility and community forum master plan, was to concentrate any new growth around corridors and in the most walkable areas of town. So that's really was some of the stuff that underlied the idea in the first place. So what we're talking about now is making those things not permitted anymore in its general sense, but as a conditional use. This is somewhat of a sacred thing in the municipal land use law and among, you know, the planning board, that if you, it's like regular zoning, but if you request a variance from that, you're going straight to the zoning board. It becomes a use variance. It's not a small deal. So we amped up our requirements and the seriousness that an applicant would have to demonstrate if they deviated from those requirements. So a lot of them, I have a list here if anybody's curious, but one of the big ones, and we heard it this evening, that folks would be okay with this if it was part of new construction and part of true revitalization and replacement, you know, of dwellings that have sort of come to the end of their useful lives. And that is now a condition that's in the code. And so you cannot do any more than, there are 3+ families unless it's in new construction, unless it meets design standards, and unless it meets this whole slew of other things, including on-site parking. So on-site lack of parking, typically parking is a C variance, something the planning board can give. Now it'll become a D variance, which is more serious. And just, you know, a couple other things. These are the types of conditions that we saw out there. I took, my team, me, we took this area very seriously. It was not something that we just with a stroke of a pen kind of circled an area and said, well, let's make that, you know, this way. There was a few areas of town that I found particularly challenging, and that I went and, you know, got out on a Saturday and went on foot and really investigated the conditions that are out there. So I'm not surprised that this area has come up in conversation, because it's not easy. This is not an easy area to zone. It's not all one thing. There's not, you know, the patterns that we see in other neighborhoods in Morristown don't necessarily exist here. It's a lot of diversity. So we tried to find the right mechanism and the right strategy that would capture that. And, you know, another thing, we don't need necessarily pontoons to park cars. These are very deep lots on this side of Speedwell Avenue. So what we're talking about is the north side, right, of Speedwell Avenue, between Speedwell, east and west?
East and west.
East side, between the lake, Pocahontas, and the avenue. So these properties, you see it sloping down there. It's sloping down to the shores of the lake. And the other thing is, in this district, there is precedent. I always thought these were so cool. And, you know, I grew up in this area. I've been past this building, you know, hundreds of times probably. Didn't really ever think that these were sort of these urban townhomes that exist here. They're probably, you know, built, I don't know, 40s or earlier. So they've been here a really long time. There is a pattern for this type of building typology along the avenue. And this is just a few blocks down from the area we're talking about. So moving on from that, Ridgedale and Morris, Councilman Iannacone pointed out a couple things. One, there was just a mapping error on the corner of Ridgedale and Morris, that it was previously a multifamily residential, and we had always intended in the reexamination of the master plan, it was always intended that it be a mixed-use area. So that was corrected. And then as a policy decision, taking there's two homes. One is an office with residential character. The other is like a 4-unit condominium Victorian house next to the old George Washington School townhomes. Those were included as a mixed use, like an ORC type mixed use, bringing those back to residential, you know, basically the corridor residential MF2, multifamily 2. So those two things are now incorporated in this reintroduced or proposed to be reintroduced draft. Fast food. So previously, this came up at the first introduction hearing. Why would fast food be included in that MX1 zone along Washington Street and other places? And the reason for that was to allow small businesses that do technically fall under that fast food to continue. What we did, we took that out because, you know, I agree that it could have had unintended consequences, and we went a step further with respect to that, and made it conditional throughout the town. They would only be permitted in mixed-use buildings, in specific building types. So Tito's Burritos, technically fast food, right? But it's comfortable, and I think it's appropriate for Morristown because it is part of a neighborhood. It's part of a mixed-use building. It's not a standalone thing with a parking lot around it. So that's what we want to avoid. That's why a lot of times you do prohibit fast food in communities like this. So we did try to thread the needle to allow small businesses to continue and thrive here, while also avoiding that kind of destruction of character that can come with standalone pad retail. Headquarters Plaza, there was an area across from Speedwell Avenue from headquarters that we did leave. As you may recall, we took down all the 6-story zones to 5 stories. We left one area 6 stories directly across from Headquarters Plaza. I think that there was a number of reasons that that was the appropriate thing to do at that location. What was brought to our attention is that when you added these different bonuses and allow for all things that were good things to do, it got you up to 80 feet, a 6-story, 80-foot building. We took a closer look. We looked at the topography in this area, and we're going to maintain it at a 12-story. So right now, everything is 12-foot floor to floor. I didn't say 12-story. 12-foot floor to floor. So it's 6 stories, 12 feet, 72 feet, consistent with the other 5-story districts, just with one additional stepped-back floor. But to give you some context, across the street, I think, is 14 stories. The hospital contacted us and said, we know if a chance to make another revision. We've received a number of variances over the years. We would like to, at least for this code, we understand that you're not going to do a holistic modification at this point because we are not recommending that right now. We do think some additional planning is necessary, but to recognize the zoning board's work to date in very kind of carefully dealing with FAR and dealing with building coverage variances, to incorporate those things as the now sort of where they're at. So that would mean if they want to change a sign or if they want to do something else, they could come to the planning board because the site in itself is not non-conforming, so then everything they do after that becomes non-conforming. So this was just a way to just logistically, administratively, keep things smooth. I thought it was a good point that they raised. There's no changes to building height, and that, you know, we were encouraging Atlantic Health and Morristown Medical Center to partner with us in the future on a more comprehensive study of Madison Avenue, which I think is a really good opportunity. Just as Councilman Anacone mentioned, there are some outgrowths of this process that we couldn't tackle so we could actually finish this, but that were great ideas for things to keep working on. Okay, this is the last part. So some of the questions we received, and I'm paraphrasing here, what is the increase in overall intensity, and how does this code manage the impacts associated with that? So residential in the downtown. Going back to the 2003 master plan, there's been this consistent, we should amend the code to put multifamily in the downtown. It should be 50 units an acre. That's what that 2003 said. The 2008 re-exam, actually, what I want to say is it's been left unaddressed for 15 years. So the 2003 said that. The 2008 said, you know what, we'll put that one on hold. We'll do it all through redevelopment. That's how we'll get our residential density. The master plan said, let's get on with it, and let's create the opportunity for smaller scale infill development in downtown neighborhoods. So it doesn't have to be, you know, sometimes one of the things that I've heard is, why is it always the big projects, and why aren't we doing kind of smaller boutique kind of projects? It's because the code doesn't permit it. It only permits garden apartments in the downtown, which is kind of absurd. So 2003 recommended, 2008 recommended in some way, 2014 recommended, 2018 re-exam reinforced. So that's the basis of why it's important to do this and to have this here. So the question was then, all right, well, what's the right density? What did we do? We went back to tried and true existing standards in the existing code for the M1 apartment district, which is the correct building type, not the garden apartment building type. It's a ridiculous thought to have a garden apartment style building on South Street. I think it would be a disaster for this town to have that. So we incorporated those densities. For 4-story buildings, we used the 4-story units per acre standard. For 5-story buildings, we use the 5-story units per acre standard. In fact, these densities are slightly lower than what the M1 already permits. Everywhere else, residential densities are consistent with basically what's permitted now. The MX1 was based on ORC densities. I'm trying to think of what the other ones were, but they were really based on the closest thing that was appropriate, the closest corollary in the current code. There were some loopholes that we found in Central Business District, in the resident ORC district, in the Headquarters Plaza district that could have led to unintended consequences with regard to density. Those are dealt with now. And that these standards that we did, we tested them, we laid out properties, we went to the biggest sites and the smallest sites and went to all the properties in these districts, and then found out that if we just use the bulk standards, what size box you're allowed to build on this property, multiplied it by the number of floors, divided it by 1,000 feet per apartment, you'd end up with way more density. So these are real density restrictions. They're not just a regurgitation of what you'd be permitted based on like physics or logic or whatever, that these are actual policy-based density controls. Changes in height in the downtown. So we know that we've gone from 3 stories to 4, or three with a step to 4 in certain areas. The other reality is that we've gone from 6 to 5 stories in a number of locations. So when we took a look at it, 44% of properties decreased in height, went from 6 to 5. 51% of properties went from 4 to 3, and many of those are smaller.
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
3 to
I'm
4
sorry. Increased, sorry. And then 5% there was just no change. And these are in that downtown TC district, town core. And now step backs are required on upper floors to minimize the impact of height, which were previously not permitted. It was just a straight 4 or a straight 6, or a straight 3. Parking management, as Councilman Anacone alluded, shared parking is important. It's important to the future of Morristown that we can't keep building really in some of the ways that we have been, in terms of every property has its own parking demand and its own parking lot, and it's just going to end up with the pattern, a not walkable town, a not walkable development pattern, and a lot more impervious than we might need, and parking lots that sit empty all night, or residential parking lots that sit empty all day. Shared parking is the answer for that, and that is a way to avoid overdevelopment, and the fact that we've now included 3 or 4 new mechanisms that previously weren't allowed, like off-site parking, like licenses, and things like that, which now make somebody saying, I just need a parking variance, like I just don't have enough parking. Like that's what we hear, right, at the zoning board. Well, now there's like 3 or 4 different ways to accomplish that, and I think it's going to make it much harder to defend not at least pursuing those things and having a story around it. So, and as the mayor alluded to, with regard to street parking, there are certain circumstances, certain neighborhoods where that's the norm. We've bolstered up the standards that are in there, where somebody now has an affirmative obligation to demonstrate why they can't get it on site and why they can't get it through a shared mechanism if they want to avail themselves of street parking moving ahead. Okay, addressing traffic, everybody's favorite topic. Townwide mobility study that we did, 36% of all Morristown's traffic is through traffic, and that's throughout the entire town. That is not distributed equally. Some of the areas that Ms. Liskog mentioned, which I'll show you in a map in a second, are the most affected by regional traffic. The town is actively coordinating. Those GPS clocks have been installed. There's other equipment out there that's being addressed by DOT maintenance crews, and the timing is working its way through the DOT, as I described a few months back in a presentation. So we are working to address the actual infrastructure, and that right now there are no minimum traffic standards. We at least created a minimum traffic standard here. We know we can create a traffic standard for studies using the kind of process that I described in terms of computer simulations. We're working on that. That will be included. But right now, we have a very good, as good as any other town has in terms of a stopgap, when we haven't had anything in the past to deal with traffic studies and to be projecting the traffic impacts of development moving ahead. So this was that map I was talking about. Mill Street and Washington Street, these are 2 areas that experience that western migration or the eastern migration from communities to our west to 287 in the morning. Corridors like Speedwell, corridors like Sussex, corridors like Washington Street to Morris to the highway. These are all the most affected. And you could see here that 74% of cars on Mill Street in the morning have nothing to do with Morristown. They're just cut-through cars. So my point in showing you this is we can stop development, and it's not going to solve this problem. It's just going to lead to the types of conditions that I showed you in that picture before, where there's not new investment. And I think that it has been good for this town. I think the things that are happening here are exciting. People are telling me all the time, I'm sure you're hearing all the time, that the town's doing great, things like that. So I think that this code that you have in front of you will continue that. We'll do it in a responsible way, and we'll thread the needle to sort of accomplish the benefits while avoiding unnecessary impacts. And the comments that I received from Councilman Armington, like maybe 20 or 30, and from Councilman Anacone, were extremely helpful in refining this approach. And I look forward to continue to work with you all on these sort of outgrowth projects. So that's it. Planning Board consistency review this Thursday at a regularly scheduled hearing. and then we'll be back for the first opportunity for a public hearing will be July 10th. So, thank you.
Bill, can you do one other clarification on the historic overlay and the estates lot?
Yeah, so
That
we
clarification?
did change it to an estate district. Was it taken out?
It's in the new version, Phil?
It's still there, it's the estate building typo.
And so we changed the name?
We changed the name.
Okay. And then the clarification, it only applies to certain properties?
It only
within
applies
the-
to existing properties.
Existing properties within the district meeting those standards?
Correct.
Okay.
So just to kind of let everybody know what you're asking about, there was a provision in this code that recognized that there are certain very large homes in Morristown on pretty small lots for what they are, and our code from the kind of from the 1970s has been this very suburban ideal of big front yards and big side yards, and doesn't recognize this kind of quasi-urban thing that we have going on in Morristown, these old estate homes. So we created a specific provision for them that allows people, homeowners that own those big dwellings, to not be penalized, basically, for what they have, and to allow them to be worked on, allow an air conditioner to be put in, or a porch to be added, or whatever it is, without having to go to the zoning board for those types of things. So that's what Councilman Anacone was asking about, that it be sort of refined and tweaked. And the historic district is what we previously called it, and it was confusing for some people because there is an actual historic district in Morristown that's the National Park Service, and we didn't want this to be confused with that, so we're just calling it the estate home district.
Okay.
So I just wasn't able to get in touch with you. So I know we had a meeting scheduled and it was on the books. So I regret that I had to cancel that meeting, but I did put together some questions and sent them to you. And so is there a way we could reschedule a meeting, and then, you know, I'll go ahead and introduce it, knowing that it's been vetted and it's been properly debated and noticed. But I'm hoping that if there is something that we could work together, because
I'm very confident, not to
Okay.
interrupt you, I'm very confident, based on the things that you've asked, that the types of answers that we have are ones that are going to be satisfactory.
Positive? Okay, good. Thank you.
But we'll get together before whatever that was, 10.
But just on what you just said, so the McCulloch Historic District is not going to be known as the McCulloch Historic District, or
Just for
it's
the
going to be
zoning
called the
code.
estate?
Just for the
Oh,
purposes
just
of the
for,
zoning code.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
This is just for zoning?
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Everything else stays the same.
Okay. Okay. We're ready to move on?
We have 6 ordinances for adoption this evening.
Did they, I don't know if they moved it. Did you guys introduce it?
Yeah, we did it in one thing. We rescinded and we adopted, and we introduced at the same time, so.
So he can actually go sit back?
Yes, yeah.
Council President, can I just make one comment before you guys go into your regular business? It's for the public and for the council. One, I'd like to publicly thank Councilman Armington and Councilman Iannacone and Councilman Deeb and anybody else who participated in these going back and forth. Councilman Armington and I have been at this for a number of years, and I talk about number of years. This is a very, very important document for the town of Morristown. The hours and the years we've spent from the beginning to where we are now is laying a foundation for Morristown that will protect and move our town in a way that will be satisfactory to the residents of Morristown for many, many decades to come. Like in all documents and all zoning codes and all legislation, things will be tweaked in time, and things have to change and don't work, and you change them, and that's why you always constantly look and relook at things. But I have to tell you that the compromise that the planner came up, I didn't agree with his compromises. I think that we're missing a little bit on Speedwell, but the compromises that he made, I respect what you guys did and what you went back and forth with him. I think the compromise to those issues that were done, I think are good. They're solid. They have merit. And you're to be commended for what you've done and all the input you've helped on the planning board. We've been at this, Councilman Armington and I, for a number of years. I want to personally and publicly thank our planner, Phil Aberson from Topology, and his crew. This is no small task. This is a couple of years in the work. He has been cradling this baby, as the business administrator told me, for a long time. Too long. But because of the work that goes back and forth with the council and the planning board and his openness to work through issues is the reason why I believe this document is going to be one of the most successful documents in introduction of zoning change in Morristown for decades to come. And I publicly want to thank him, and we're very grateful that he's the planner of our town of Morristown. Thank you, Phil Aberson. Thank you, Council President.
Ordinances for adoption. Ordinance Ordinance O-18-2018, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 2 Administration.
Yeah.
And I have a motion to adopt.
I move it.
Second.
Aren't we voting on O25?
We voted to rescind the last one and adopt
together.
it. So
Okay.
So
All right.
technically, we had our discussion
Okay.
after it was already introduced. So
Sorry.
it's all right.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, I will now open the floor for public hearing on ordinance 18-28. Seeing none, I will close the public portion. On the adoption of ordinance 18-2018, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
No.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Ordinance 18-2018 is adopted. Ordinance 19-2018, an ordinance of the Town of Morristown and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, for compensation for the elected mayor, town council members, and council president in the Town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted. Can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
I will open the floor for public hearing on 19-2018. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. On the adoption of 19-2018, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone.
Yes.
And Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Ordinance 19-2018 has been adopted. Ordinance O-20-2018, an ordinance of the State of Morristown and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, for compensation for management/non-union positions in the Town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinance concerning such compensation heretofore adopted. Can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
I will open the floor for public hearing for comments on ordinance 21-18. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. On the adoption of ordinance 20-2018, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
And Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Ordinance 20-2018 has been adopted. Ordinance O-21-2018, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of the Loyola property in and by the Town of Morristown in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $250,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $244,150 bonds or notes of the town to finance part of the cost thereof. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Motion?
Second.
Okay. I will open the floor for public hearing for comments on ordinance 21-2018. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. On the adoption of 21-2018, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-2018 is adopted. Ordinance number O-22-2018, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 Traffic. Can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
I will open the floor for public hearing on ordinance 22-2018. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Comment.
Sir?
So I'm in favor of this ordinance. I think that, the blocking the box is a problem significantly along, well, most of our congested corridors. I would like to note that there seems to be conflicts where blocking the box is permitted or would be targeted, and also allowing allowing right on red. Essentially, you're at the stop sign, the stop bar, and you're hoping you're waiting for the line of traffic to move in, and then someone pulls in off the side. So it creates such a conflict between your direction of traffic and the opposite direction of traffic. So I would encourage the administration
You're talking about Early Street and Speedwell?
Early and Speedwell, I think it would really apply, South and Elm, coming off of Elm Street, essentially, where when you're waiting for the traffic to create that space of car space where you can slide into, and then someone comes in from the side, and then it's like, well, and then you wait too long, and another does it, and then they start honking behind you, and then so you jump it, and then you end up getting a $250 parking, no block the box. So it doesn't really affect this ordinance per se, because I'm in favor, but I think that the administration should take a look at where they blocking the box, how right on red or no right on red facilitates traffic flow.
And actually, that would help with pedestrian safety, too, some of the issues we're having.
Okay. Excuse me, on the adoption of ordinance 22-2018, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman
Yes.
Deeb? Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Ordinance 22-2018 has been adopted. Ordinance number O-23-2018, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $3,057,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,904,150 bonds or notes of the town to finance part of the cost thereof. Can I have a motion to introduce?
I'll move it.
A second.
I will open the floor for public hearing and comments on ordinance 23-2018. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. On the adoption of 23-2018, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
And Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Ordinance 23-2018 is adopted. On the agenda, there are 11 resolutions for adoption. However, during executive session this evening, 5 resolutions were discussed, and there was consensus that they be added to the agenda this evening. So if I could have a motion to add those 5 items as resolution numbers 118 through
134. No, 134.
No, that they're before. Before?
Oh,
That's how Minute Track did it. They're numbered 118 through 122, 2018.
I move it.
I guess I'd make a motion to adopt 118 through 128 at this point.
Could I pull out
I'm making a motion. I'll second.
127?
Yeah. I guess, sorry.
Pull out 127?
Let's make a motion to add them to the agenda and then go from there.
Thank you.
I moved it.
Second.
Okay. Second. Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman
Yes.
Deeb? Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to announce that Resolution 133-2018, which was the 2018-19 renewal of Market Hospitality's liquor license, is being pulled this evening. I was notified after the agenda went out that a 1239 special ruling is required. So that is being pulled. I would also announce that 131-2018 and 132-2018 be pulled for separate consideration.
Oh.
Are there any other resolutions that you would like to have pulled?
I just wanted to discuss the 127, please.
Okay, pull that. Any others? Okay, I would ask for a motion to adopt resolutions 118 through 126 and 128 through 130, 2018.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
And Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, for Resolution 127, 2018, can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to put it on the floor.
Yeah, second.
Okay.
So
Yeah, Councilman Armington?
wait, I had a
Okay.
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry,
no,
no,
no.
now we're doing this.
It's moved. Go ahead.
So-
moved.
So this bus that you've picked, you've already picked the type of bus and everything?
Yes.
Or, so is it environmentally friendly and sensitive, or is it?
It's a school bus that runs natural gas. Is it natural gas or
diesel.
Diesel. It's a diesel engine.
Diesel,
It's diesel.
okay. Are we married to this bus, or can we kind of?
We've spent the better part of the year finding this bus and making sure that we found a bus that was cost-effective, met all of our needs, was the right size, had handicap lift, would lower to the ground, had all the bells and whistles that we could possibly afford with $150,000, and this is the bus that we chose.
Okay. I mean, this is the first time I've heard of this, so I just was wondering if there was any way it could be customized. In California, on San Francisco, there's buses that have bicycles, and you can accommodate by putting bicycles on the front or the back.
You're talking about like a bicycle rack?
Yeah.
I'm
And-
sure we can look at adding that as an aftermarket.
Yeah, it just encourages bicyclists, and it encourages, sometimes you can't bike to ShopRite and back, but you could go one way.
Sure.
So it just would be something to look into.
We can absolutely look into
Okay.
adding that.
All right, great, thanks. That's
I-
all the questions I had.
So I have an additional question, not to blow up your research or the work that you've done on it, but what is the add-on for a natural gas alternative?
I don't know offhand. We looked at diesel buses because we have diesel mechanics and diesel fuel, and it's consistent with the software and the equipment that we have in our shop. We're not equipped to accommodate natural gas. I misspoke. I was way ahead of myself. We're not equipped to handle natural gas buses, and I would expect that they're a lot more expensive than the equipment that we normally use.
Can we find out how much more expensive?
I can certainly look into it.
Well, San Francisco uses them, and
Well,
it's,
they're all over the place.
yeah.
But
yeah.
again, even if we bought one, we're not equipped to maintain them. We don't have the equipment. We don't use natural gas vehicles. We don't have the fuel on site. It's really not practical for us to add to our fleet. It would be a major lift for us to add a new vehicle with a new type of fuel that we don't use currently.
Understood.
Anything else?
Meaning what, you need to have like a separate fueling station, like a propane tank or something where you?
Natural, yeah, they're,
Natural gas
right,
type of
right.
thing?
We don't have any natural gas vehicles, and we don't, it's not part of our fleet at all.
Okay.
So do we need to modify this resolution with that request, or is that just verbal at this point, or the bicycle rack?
Well, it sounds like that's a possible add-on.
Okay. Sure.
And I think that, we can support this this resolution, and then
Just
the
note that.
administration can look into what the add-on additional thing may be and inform us in the next meeting or the next few
I
meetings.
would
has,
certainly, thank you, Councilman. I respectfully request that you consider the resolution as proposed, and so we can get this bus ordered. There is a significant lead time to get the bus constructed. So, after all of this time it's taken for us to get the bus identified and spec'd, and, I went to Ocean County with Anthony to go look at a bus that was we put a lot of effort and time into doing this. But we can certainly, while this bus is being ordered, look at adding bike rack. That's something that should be able to be done aftermarket.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Look at the users as to who rides the bus.
Sure.
Is it bike riders? Will it be bike riders? Most of these can be short trips around town. They're not going to be
A lot of them are
long
bike
trips around
riders,
town.
elderly people.
Elderly people, they may have wheelchairs.
bikes.
And they may find you need something else to carry your equipment on the bus.
Sure, absolutely.
Sorry. I was indisposed.
On 127, it's 2018. Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis? Councilwoman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Motion carries. For Resolution 131-2018, the Kellogg Club came in today and paid their municipal fee, so I was able to add them to the agenda before the June 30th deadline. So I would ask that we add liquor license 1424-31-044-001 to the agenda for approval. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Thank you. So if I could have a motion
I'll
to...
make a motion to approve Article 131.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
131-2018 is adopted. And then for 132-2018, a miscommunication with the Division of Taxation. I would like to remove 1424-44-002-003 and 1424-44-007-004 due to problems with tax clearance. And then I would like to add license number 1424-44-028-007 as they were able to obtain tax clearance this morning.
Who's that?
That's Chardonnay wines. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on the adoption of 132-2018.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on a second. So 132 that you're pulling, it's not the same license number?
I'm sorry, 133 was pulled. Did I say 132?
So what you're doing is already on the agenda, 132?
Yes.
It's just changing the list, because it's a list of the plenary retail distribution licenses.
Okay, he was just making sure, double checking.
Please, I very much appreciate the double checking when it comes to liquor licenses. Okay, can I have a motion to approve 132-2018?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
And Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we have no unfinished business. And for new business, I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Silva for the Let's Drive New Jersey.
Yes. Last time, Wind of the Spirit were here presenting the possibility for us to have resolution, town resolution, supporting the New Jersey Let's Drive. Today, Brian is here if we have any questions. Also, there was a rally. What was the date, Brian? On June 16, I was part of the rally and I was one of the speakers. Seeing today's climate on immigration in our nation, I think passing this resolution will be good to give some weight in Trenton to have the approval of this.
If you read the material that Wind of the Spirit provided, you see that there are 12 states that already have that, including Utah, which is a very conservative state. And also, you saw the numbers, which they're very important, on how many people could be driving with license here in New Jersey. One of the facts is that undocumented immigrants will drive anyway. Why? Because they have families, they have children, they have to go to work, they have to. So unfortunately, they do it because it's a need. So one of my points at the speech at the park was that for us as legislators, one of the most important things is the safety of the people that we represent. Giving licenses to these drivers will bring safety because these drivers will be vetted on the written exam and the practical exam. So that means that when we drive in the state, we will be sure that everybody that is driving around us is properly vetted and is driving with license. Plus the economical advantage that this will bring on motor vehicle, the sales of cars, insurance, which also benefit the people at large in the state. More people being insured, probably cost will be less. So all the details are in that document. We cannot help fix the immigration problem in the United States, but we have a scope that we can help our immigrants and the people that live in our neighborhoods and now also in the state. So through this initiative of the resolution, we can help the people here in our town, but also we can help the people in the state. Then it will be up to the state legislature to do what is within their scope too. They cannot legislate immigration reform, but they can help our immigrant people here in the state. So I just encourage everybody to support this and to help us. And if you have any questions, we have Brian here, and also if I can answer any questions, I will do it too.
Just are you looking for input as to are you suggesting that the resolution be added to the agenda or next agenda?
Correct. For next time, yes.
For the July 10th meeting?
Yes. And they brought a sample of the resolution, and Mr. Ayana Khan give us some input on things that could be changed on that, but also we can consult with our attorney to shape it in a proper way.
Could we get us that before the next meeting and before the packet goes out, since there's already a draft of it?
Yeah.
Was it in our packet tonight? Oh, okay. I missed it. Scratch that.
And you were out the last time with your dad, but it was at the last meeting
Oh,
also.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Just to add, I do think it's something worthy for us to support. Certainly, it's a benefit to everyone and it increases safety in general. Imagine having a car accident with someone who has no license and is not insured. Wouldn't you rather have, a situation, that keeps everybody, insured and safer? Certainly, you don't, like he said, we cannot really address the immigration issue, but everybody deserves the right to be human and have basic rights as working class adults. So I definitely support this effort. That's it? Okay. So I guess we'll add this to the July 10th meeting then. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn unless anybody has anything else they want to add?
No, only that if you want to research what the states did and the criteria they used. It's a very interesting read to see how each state used criteria to vet to how they can apply and what they have to go through to get a license. It's just not a blanketed.
Right.
Correct.
It's not just a blanketed, you get a license to drive. You actually have to go through several different points to get it, and you can actually read what each state did, because it's not long, because it's only 12. So if you go online and just Google what states passed that driver's license for undocumented, you'll see tons of information, and you can really read how they debated it, how they went through the process of how they came up with the points to make it happen. So I commend Brian for what you're doing,
Awesome.
and the council for taking it up.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay.